Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the home weather office on this Thursday morning. We're now up to the 17th day of July, 2025, and this is the morning briefing. Looking out the window from the home weather office, blue sky. Not much in the way of a breeze here, but we still have a good onshore breeze working, making for a nice, cool, comfortable morning. And it is going to be another nice day. Yesterday turned out to be a much cooler than average day around here with highs only in the low 80s. Nice for mid-July. And looking forward, I don't see anything in the way of heat for the next 7 days, maybe as much as the next 10 days. We're just kind of coasting through this month of July so far. So here's the way July has gone. I've been showing you this day by day, but I just wanted to point this out because the last couple of days, 87 then 82, with overnight lows in the 50s. This is nice for mid-July. Only one day over 100, and as we've been talking about, only 4 days so far this year with temperatures at or above 100 degrees. And usually July is our warmest month, with August coming in just slightly behind. Now, I was a little bit curious about this, so I did a look, and I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to show you a bunch of numbers here. So what these are the average temperatures. So this is the high and the low for Sacramento, and we'll just go back to the year 2000. And so what I was curious about is how often is August actually warmer than July? Well, if we go back here to the year 2000, you can see the average temperature for July was 72.1, but August was warmer at 74. And then the next year, same thing, was slightly warmer. And then 2002, it was a little bit cooler. 2003, we had a very warm July, 79.2, then down to 75. So it kind of goes back and forth. You could almost say that the 2 months are very, very close to each other in terms of the amount of heat that we see, in terms of the average temperature. Most often, July is slightly warmer than August. So I guess what I was trying to find out here is, I'm sure some of you would think, oh, if we've gotten through July and it's relatively mild, does that mean that August will be the same? Well, there are a lot of years where August will actually turn the other way and go warmer. So like in 2020, we had an average temperature of 76.5 in July and then 79.5 in August. So it just kind of flipped back around. And then September and July were about the same. And that was in 2020. And then last year, we had that super hot July, 81 for the average temperature for the month, and then August wasn't quite as hot, but still very warm into September. So we have had a nice July through the first half, and even the second half, so far anyway, doesn't look as though it's going to be very hot. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have a similar August or even a cooler August. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be another one of those years where August turns out to be warmer than the month of July. But I'll tell you, for things going on outdoors right now, for those of you that work outdoors, perfect. For the state fair that's going on in Sacramento, perfect weather. Yeah, the opening day was over 100, but then ever since then, the weather's been pretty comfortable. So far, so good in terms of our temperatures. Let's go take a look at the satellite and show you what's happening this morning. Interesting little feature right here, a little marine layer get pushed all the way through the Carquinez Strait and into Sacramento County. You can see it right there, and even a wisp of it up here around the Marysville area, indicating that we do have not only we have enough cool air around, enough moisture in the air to have the moisture condense. Oh, it looks like there was even a little blip over here, maybe toward the Ione area. Yeah, really nice. Obviously, the valley marine layer will retreat quite a bit, and then on the coast, this will hang around throughout much of the day. Let's go farther to the north because I want to talk a little bit about the green fire here. We are going to have southerly flow up the valley, which is good, and that helps to keep the smoke at bay. But let's go to watch duty and get an update on the green fire. Right now, it's up to 16,000 acres. But what I wanted to point out here is the mapping on this. Let me just back this out a little bit. So if you were watching a couple of days ago, there was a line up here that they had most likely intentionally burned, and it looks like they probably did a line here and then tried to burn it as well. With the general flow out of the south, it appears as though what they're doing here is going to let this area fill in and then that area fill in and then this area too. On the southern end of it, it is bounded already by the river here and the river here, and with southerly flow, it looks as though maybe this entire peninsula is not going to burn. So I guess what I'm looking at here is that while there will still be some patches to burn out here, if they could hold these lines here, here, and here, and again, these are lines that are likely bulldozed and then they intentionally set to burn in. So if that's the case here, then we may be seeing, in a few days, we may be seeing a lot less smoke from the green fire, which would be good. There's, by the way, Shasta right there, kind of popping up out of the smoke. You can see the snow cap on it and the early morning sun and the shadow right there. It's a beautiful look. But yeah, well, still a lot of smoke coming off the green fire. Like I said, 16,000 acres have burned and still a lot of active fire on it. But we'll see if that, if their firing operations will help in the next couple of days. So let's see what that looks like maybe by Monday. And also with generally southerly flow coming up, we will likely see a lot less in the way of smoke come down into the valley. Also talked about the marine layer. Man, it is kind of bumped up this morning. I should say yesterday morning it was around 1,500 feet. Today it's up around 2,000 feet. And you combine that with the onshore flow, and we're going to have another comfortable day with temperatures staying in the 80s. And I mentioned that the overall pattern looks good. I think we may see temperatures bump up a little bit over the weekend, but today we still have this kind of baggy trough around this little onshore flow right in here, and that weakens slightly into the weekend. But still, the weekend's going to be nice. And then early next week, we get another one of these troughs that digs down. And what that does is it keeps the big high over here, over into Texas. And we keep cooler than average weather, not only in California, but especially through the Northwest. Also favorable for firefighters. Keep cooler than average temperatures, slightly higher humidity, great for firefighters. And then this is into, let's see, what day are we up to now? This is a week from now. Another little trough going by, keeping a generally southwesterly flow going. And that means temperatures are probably going to stay at or below average. Now, the big high begins to rebuild here, and this is up to Sunday the 27th. So we're kind of getting out there into fantasy land, and we'll see what happens. So we'll see what happens with this toward the end of the month, because you see this big high expand, and then you're just kind of like, oh, okay, is the trough going to be here? Or is it going to be over here? This is a pattern we have not seen so far this summer. So we'll have to see just how that plays out. But the good thing is that that's, we're now talking, 2 weeks out, and that's where you start to get a lot of model uncertainty. So there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. But what does look pretty good is that, today, the weekend, temperatures mild, cool mornings, warm but not overly hot afternoons. Most of next week right now also looks as though it's going to be mild, under 100 degrees, which is really, really nice. We'll see whether or not that changes toward the end of the month. But yeah, another day that looks good. By the way, somebody yesterday in the comments section asked me to look into the weather for Portrush in Northern Ireland, where the Open is taking place. Some people call it the British Open. It's the Open Championship. So if you were watching any of the coverage so far, it gets windy, then the wind kind of dies down, it rains, and then it stops. I was there last year. We didn't play Portrush, but we played Port Stewart and a bunch of other courses in Northern Ireland. And that's the way the weather went there. It would rain, and you'd scramble to put your rain gear on, and then 2 holes later, the sun would be out, and the wind would change direction. And that's what we're going to see there. So if you're asking me to look at a model for the weather there, forget it. It's just so on again, off again, rainy, windy, sunny. It's just everything. So for those of you that are golf fans and going to be watching the Open Championship over the next couple of days, I'm not going to show you any models. It's just going to be in the course of a 5-hour round, you'll see just about everything. It's pretty wild there. Beautiful part of the world. That's everything I had for you on this Thursday morning. Make it a great day. I'll talk with you later.